Yes, sir. You just found it. Intercourse with you. Let's chat. Welcome to the Intercourse Show. I am your host, Mr. B. In today's reactionary video, we are going to discuss a video that was posted by MTR and is discussing the ex-NBA player Joe Smith, who found his wife's secret OnlyFans page after like 10 or 15 years of marriage. And, you know, he was pretty disappointed about it. Now, for whatever reason, this video is causing some stir online, and I think it'll be one that's worthy of a conversation. So what I did is I invited my panel today to the table. We have the beautiful Amber Giselle and the beautiful Sky Square to represent maybe the women's side of this argument. And on the flip side, we have Terrence and Rennick as two men who can also speak to this. So without any further ado, I'll go ahead and get the video started, and we'll have our panel weigh in on it.
Hey, yo, this comeback is personal. It's an apology to myself for putting up with all the shit I didn't deserve. Not my job now. You knew who the f was when you met me.
Before. We're going to get into that in a little bit. I got a lot more receipts into who she was before. The video that I have for you guys here today is just plain sad, but demonstrates that as a man, if you do not make the right decisions or do not conduct yourself in a way that ultimately leads you successful, how quickly your life can fall into an abyss. Prayers up for ex-NBA baller Joe Smith, who spent 16 years in the NBA, being first-round draft pick back in 1995. He made over $60 million from the NBA, and now his wife is doing OnlyFans.
I can't believe I'm sitting here just finding out you got an OnlyFans page. Out of all these years, yo, the disrespect that comes with it, that you couldn't even talk to me before you did it, that's bullshit, yo.
Oh.
That's I'm telling you, yo, that's
I have an OnlyFans page, and he's mad because he's just now finding out about it.
Of course, I'm mad at you just finding out about it.
I'm not doing it with anybody but myself, so why should I have to tell you my choice, my body, my choice?
Your partner, you're supposed to come to me and talk to
Joe,
me.
I've been talking to you about mad things. I've been asking for solutions to shit. You're not giving me none, so I created one.
That's no solution. Not in my book. That's no solution.
You knew who the f was when you met me.
Before.
We're going to get into that in a little bit. I got a lot more receipts into who she was before.
Before, yeah,
we met,
I
knew that.
Thought that I would never have to go back to anything like this again.
Beforehand,
but
no.
that's not the case
after
right now.
After that, everything's supposed to change.
Everything did change.
No. Obviously, it hasn't.
No, it had to. I had to do something.
You stood out there showing your body. You stood out there doing stuff like this on camera.
You act like that's the only thing that I do. I have mad jobs, but they're not facilitating everything that needs to be done. So I got something extra. OnlyFans be breaking me off. What the?
Come on, Keisha, that it don't matter what they breaking you off. It's the disrespect that comes with it.
What disrespect?
You couldn't come and talk to me about it.
Okay, well, we're talking about it now.
Because I had to find out on the fly.
Yeah, just real quick. Imagine this. You play 16 years in the NBA. You become a multi-millionaire. You get to the tender age of 50 plus years old, and the young woman that you were married to, who's also 50 plus years old, is now putting her grandma vagina up on OnlyFans, screaming from the mountaintops, my body, my choice, irrespective of being in a marriage. Masculine men covet your bodies, and masculine men don't want to share your bodies with other men, forcing your husband to deal with it, especially after he's afforded everything within your life. This house that he's almost scraping his head on the ceiling on, did you buy this house? Hell no, you didn't. It's his house. You're just a part of it, but you reward him by being disrespectful. Let's keep going.
All right, then. But now, okay.
No,
so, wait.
I had to find out on the fly.
So now you know.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, now I know.
Okay. And so?
Oh, shit.
Whatever.
Oh, shit. Grandma giving him the look like, what you gonna do about it? This is emasculinization, disrespect to the utmost degree.
I've been doing what I have to do, period. Like, that's bottom line. That's what it is.
Now, I did a little bit of reconnaissance on this lovely young lady. Here's her Instagram account right here. You'll also see that she's also known as Yasmin Penn Davis. Keep note of that for later. But she has a public-facing Instagram account where she actually reacts on to viral content such as the Cheesecake Factory video.
If I'm being honest, I'm not a Cheesecake Factory girl either, but he wouldn't have took me to Cheesecake in the first place because I would have chose the restaurant we were going to. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so you're beginning to get an idea of her mindset and exactly the type of personality of who she is. She's an independent queen, boss bee, get it out the mud, make money on her terms, how she wants to. Ooh, Cheesecake, that's not my cup of tea. But he wouldn't have took me there anyway because I'm the leader of this goddamn household.
I'm okay with burning a bridge while I'm standing on it. Just to let you know that I'm not to it. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I look at personalities like this and I continue to think that only men that find this attractive are men that did not grow up in stable situations. They grew up in toxicity. They grew up without a father. And if they grew up with a mother that wore their masculinity as a badge of honor, then they end up finding toxic masculine personalities like this attractive. Nevertheless, also available on her public Instagram are posts like this of her and Joe being a happy, loving couple. But if you click on the link tree at the top of the page, you'll see some additional links, one of which to, the Onlyfans account. But
Are you looking to establish your business using an address other than your home? Wish you had a professional business address and phone number instead of your home address and personal number?
But interestingly enough, I found a Twitter account for her that wasn't linked on her Instagram. And right on her public Twitter, she'll post things such as getting help for traveling to Cape Verde, which was set up back in August, but now has a total of $0 in donation. But upon traveling down in the profile a little bit, you'll see this gem right here, a menu of her digital strumpetness. What I find so odd about this is that this is all publicly available. So, Joe, where are your friends at? How did you not see this? Or better yet, how did you fall in love with such a dastardly woman? But guys, remember in the exposed video when she said you knew I was about this?
You knew who the was when you met me.
Before
Yeah,
we met,
before,
yeah, I
and
knew
I
that.
thought that I would never have to go back to anything
I
like
knew
this
that
again.
beforehand,
But
but not,
unfortunately, that's not the case right now.
After that, everything's supposed to change.
She claims that you knew who she was, and upon even further research, I found out that she's a former porn star. This is why I tell you guys so often, never take chicks seriously with former pasts like this. You cannot change a hoe into a housewife. It is literally impossible, because no matter how much money that you have or how much game that you think that you have, the world is so far down in a state of decay that we have grandmothers opening their cheeks on OnlyFans. Ever since your public life was documented outside of being a gifted basketball player, you've seemed to have made bad decision after bad decision.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Brad Francis, and today we got a story about how former NBA player Joe Smith went from being the #1 draft pick in the NBA to living paycheck to paycheck and being over $150,000 in debt. Joe Smith was a baller at the University of Maryland and got drafted #1 overall by the Golden State Warriors in 1995. By the end of his career, he played for 12 different teams and earned $61 million throughout his time in the NBA. Little did Joe know that Uncle Sam was going to take a portion of that money, and after taxes, he ended up only making $18 million through his time in the NBA. And man, in my opinion, these colleges need to provide a class for these athletes to teach them that if you go pro in the sport, you're not going to get all the money you earn. You're definitely going to have to pay taxes. There's going to be expenses that you're going to need to pay, and don't blow it. You can't blow your wad, man. You got this opportunity to play a professional sport. Don't just go out there and start blowing cash, man. My man Joe Smith had a car collection, including a Corvette, a Bentley, 2 Range Rovers, and other luxury vehicles. Yo, Joe, I understand you're trying to whip nice, but come on, bro. You gotta get all those cars? You couldn't have just went with the Bentley? You couldn't have just went with the 2 Range Rovers? Come on, Joe. He also had a costly divorce, and with playing for 12 different NBA teams, that means you gotta buy 12 different houses. And you know Joe wasn't cheap with his houses. My man was copping mansions. So you can see how that $18 million will go real quick.
The world owes you nothing. No one has sympathy for you for making $18 million after taxes. The world will not have sympathy for you for getting married without a prenup, being a famous NBA athlete, getting divorced, and getting half your shit taken. The world will not have sympathy for you for spending all of your money on luxury. The world will not have sympathy for you for wifing up a former porn star who is now making you popular again by being on OF. The world owes you no understanding. The world owes you no sympathy. And each man that watches this video should understand that as they make choices and decisions within their life.
And even though Joe says that he spent his money on cars, houses, and costly divorce, you know my man was in the strip club 5 nights a week. You know my man was eating lobster every night. Come on, Joe. You can't play us like that, man. This story broke on A-Rod's TV show called Back in the Game, where he helps athletes with their finances. And I enjoyed the show. I think it's a cool concept, and I enjoyed watching this piece on Joe. A-Rod's advice was to start a basketball camp, do private lessons. And I mean, I guess that could work, but man, when you're $157,000 in debt, that's going to be a lot of basketball camps, buddy. You better be giving LeBron James' son private lessons. It's good.
And now Joe is so down bad that he has to accept or take that his now wife is selling her body on Onlyfans, is selling FaceTimes with her via her Twitter, as she records for public humiliation and emasculization, how much control and power that she has in that household, for clout, for profit, for clicks as well as views. At the end of the day, as men, we must understand that each decision that we make in our life is going to impact our life outcome. And we also must understand that love is conditional to the modern unscrupulous woman today. As men, we don't get mad at this fact. We accept them for their hypergamous nature, but we must understand that if we lose what we once had, then the behavior will revert back to factory settings. When the money is good, it's us against the world, babe. We can do anything together. But when the money is funny, she's doing what she can on OnlyFans. Crazy is that Joe legitimately thought he could turn a hair into a housewife. Questions, comments, concerns? Y'all already know what to do. Me, go to Tourism Reviews at gmail.com. Let videos like this serve as a life lesson, my G's. At the end of the day, life is short. The happiness or the joy that you can experience within this world is up to no one but you. Please believe that. Until next time, YouTube. Peace!
I like how MTR did the video first and foremost, because I think he did it justice. I think he provided the proper structure as well as the proper context for you to see this thing holistically, right? In one hand, you know, this man earned $60 million, and I think he had a good 18 million of it after taxes on all his expenses that he may have just squandered with reckless spending. So I think there was a part of the video where he was highlighting that as a man, you know, he kind of fumbled the ball in terms of managing his income, managing his funds, and managing his household, right? He overspent himself to a place where they were in a place of desperation. And now in the place of desperation, that's the context that now says that the woman is working multiple jobs, and then she felt like she had to take up an old profession that she was in prior to meeting him to help them meet their financial obligations and manage their households. I still don't believe, even though I can see that she's trying to do her best to kind of help the family afford everything they got going, I still don't believe that she should have decided to make that decision without at least having a conversation with her husband. I think for him, the part of it that was concerning to him is the fact that he was being blindsided with the information as if he was not aware. And what he was saying is not that he couldn't understand why she felt she had to do that. I think he was just saying, why haven't you had a conversation with me? Why am I finding out through the grapevines that you're now out here doing all this activity when in actuality, you're my wife and we should be talking about any decisions that is made, right? Any decisions that we're making in our household should be discussed amongst the two of us, whether it's a small decision or a big decision, like you exposing your body on OnlyFans. Now, there's another component to it that is the fact that she is not respecting her husband enough to even consult him on a decision, maybe because she felt that he would be opposed to it. And she was like, whether he's opposed to it or not, I'm going to do it anyway because it's good money and it provides a standard of living for her and for them that, you know, she's comfortable with. So on that element, we'll then allow, you know, you guys to weigh in on how I see it initially. That's how I'm kind of summarizing what I saw. You know what I mean? Now, ladies, I'd like to hear your point and then we'll alternate. So we'll go ladies, guy, ladies, guy. Who's like to take it next?
Amber, did you want to go ahead or?
Go ahead, Amber. You did have a perspective you want to speak to, so go ahead and speak. Is she on? Go ahead, Sky. Hop in and
Okay. While we wait for Amber, trying out the best way to say this. There are a couple things with that. I do agree that yes, she is in a predicament that is, you know, where she feels like she is in desperation to where she has to revert back to quote unquote to old habits. I do partly see where she comes from. Do I understand it? No, I do not understand it. I agree with the fact that she should have had that conversation with her husband. I feel like when it comes to matters of the household, I feel like both parties need to have that conversation. And then after both parties have that conversation, it's the leader that goes ahead and makes the executive decision, kind of like a checks and balances, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Number two, as far as understanding like where she's coming from, again, based off of the video, we see, you know, her saying like, hey, I've had 2-3 jobs. I've had multiple jobs. You know, I'm trying to figure this out. And it seems like, according to her, again, based off the video, she did try to speak with her husband. I don't know if it's about this. I don't know if it's about the, you know, the OF.
I think she was saying
she
didn't think he would be willing to listen. And he's like, I try to speak to you about a number of things. You just won't listen. So I think that speaks to her frustration with him.
I will agree. It does speak to her frustration. So, I mean, I don't want to totally negate the fact that, you know, she may have had a discussion with him, possibly about like, hey, money's low. I'm trying this, I'm trying that. And, you know, men deal with a lot of different things. Who knows where his mind was at when she was trying to communicate this to him. Mm-hmm. So there's grace in that part. It's also a thing of like being shocked, but not being surprised. Again, she stated in the beginning, you knew who I was when you met me. You knew who I was when you met me. You knew what type of activity I was doing when you met me. Now, as far as I'm concerned on that part, when you, as a person who would be considered in society a high value man, when you make poor decisions like that, not only on your own with your own poor money management, but with relational management, you make poor choices like that, you are digging your own grave. And it was only going to be a matter of time until things pretty much reverted back to old habits, because we as humans are creatures of habit.
Mhm.
And just a tidbit as far as his poor money management. I feel like that's a setup for failure as a man. I mean, I can't speak for men because I'm not a man, but as a woman who submits to a man, if there's something that kind of determines our livelihood, and there's a poor management of that, it's kind of hard for a woman to feel secure to submit to that, because it's like it seems like you're not having any leadership, or there's no evidence of leadership in what's going on. So how am I supposed to trust this, if that makes sense? But that's pretty much it so far.
Okay, Ren, you want to weigh in?
Don't mind if I do. Uh, in my opinion, she's completely 100% wrong. 100% wrong. It's not to say that she doesn't have the power to do what she wants to do with her body. Not to say that she can't make decisions as a grown adult. But when you're in a relationship, a marriage, I don't care what happens in that marriage that you may be unhappy with, or what happens within that your partner's life that may have affected you financially or emotionally. You have to give your relationship respect, dignity, and patience. You have to give back to that relationship if you want to get something out of it. And in my opinion, her making that decision selfishly is her way of saying, I want to get out of here. I'm
Mm.
not invested in this relationship. I'm not committed to it anymore. You know, I don't respect this relationship. I don't respect you as an individual. And she's trying to find an out so she doesn't have to be the one to actually make the decision. It's, in my opinion, pretty darn uh, cowardly. You know, in that situation, I think, especially when a man is in a place where he has lost a little bit of position within his relationship because of financial decisions he's made or personal decisions he's made, whether it be cheating or um, not being upfront about different investments, things of that nature. I think when a man loses that position in the relationship, he has to find another way to own his strength within that relationship, regardless of what has happened, what has transpired in his own transgressions. In that moment, he shouldn't even have given her the time nor the respect of having that conversation with her, because at that moment she didn't deserve it. He should have said, you know what, that's your decision. You That's the bed you made, and now it's time to lay in it. I'm not going for that. I'm not going to put up with it. This is not a three strikes and you're out type of situation. This is a one-time situation that you were not honest with me about it. You went back and you did that. You knew it was supposed to change. We had it the way we had it. I don't care about me knowing you and who and what kind of person you were when you were that person then, because that person then actually wasn't you. It was you hustling. Like, now you didn't have to do that after that fact. Now we're in this position. Unfortunately, we're in a struggle right now, but that doesn't mean you resort back to activities that are unhealthy, and activities are meant for someone who isn't with someone else, who isn't in a relationship and isn't in our situation. I don't want any excuses. We have our situation. Like, stick to that, commit to that, and give me the have the audacity to at least give yourself a little bit of room of or space uh for trust to come to me and confide in me and tell me you want to do this because you feel it's something that'll help us. I would respect that than for me to find out, especially through a third party, that you doing some weird stuff behind my back and you haven't even told me, and now I'm finding out you got all this stuff going on. Like, I would have been out of there. I would have said, this is it. this is it. It's not for me. And it's not about you having an OnlyFans. It's about you having an OnlyFans, putting yourself out there, disrespecting the salvation of our relationship. You clearly don't care for it. And I want to do the healthiest thing for you and do the healthiest thing for me, which is ripping up whatever the heck we got going on right here, because clearly it's not where neither of us need to be. That's my opinion.
I totally agree with what you're saying as far as when you're in a relationship, you're in it. Like that's something that you and your person, you're working together through thick and thin, through sickness and in health. I totally agree with that. However, before it gets to relationship, I do feel like there has to be some sort of filtering process as to who you decide to have this forever lifelong commitment to. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's the way that I was raised. But if any of my brothers were to bring someone who, and not to judge someone by their past, but there were who knows what other opportunities were there. And I'm not saying that people who do sex work or anything else like that, well, they don't know it, they don't have any other skill. That's not what I'm saying. But I feel like with a particular past in that particular industry, I don't think it was the wisest of choices to expect long-term commitment for an industry that is based off of temporary satisfaction.
Right. I get what you're saying. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. What I heard was that they had an understanding, right? Which is you're moving out from that now. For me to expect, or I'd rather actually put it like this. If I decide to take on this relationship, regardless of, you could be a porn star and I decide to date you. And if I tell you, hey, I don't know if I want to jump into this relationship because you're a porn star. I'm not necessarily comfortable with the thought of being with a porn star who probably wants to do porn stuff, like inside the relationship. Like, I don't know if I can deal with that. If you as a porn star says to me, look, like, I'm just trying to get out of this situation here. I want to move on and do, reputable things and not always have to show my body. And I'll be with you and I'll leave that alone. I would be a cruel human to assume that you cannot move on from that you are not sincere in your communication, and that you're not worthy of me dating you and giving you the trust and feeling confident in your transition. You know what I mean? And in your development, that you are able to actually hold a real relationship, one that's monogamous and held within trust and conversation and communication, right? Like, it would be totally cruel of me to say that you can't do that because you're working porn. There's no way you can hold a real relationship because you work in porn. That's just ignorant. Like, I mean, in my opinion, it's not. I don't think that's. If it was my daughter, I wouldn't want a man to judge her like that. You know what I mean? So once that conversation happens and you tell me that you need my trust and you need my you needed me to ride in the passenger seat with you down this road. Once I decide to do that, it's because I trust you that you're gonna keep me safe down this path too, and you're gonna make sure that if there is something that's going to happen, if I'm gonna get into this car and if I shut the door, the glass may shatter. You probably should tell me the glass may shatter if you shut the door really hard. So shut the door gently, as opposed to letting me get in the car, shutting the door, and then the glass is in my face. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's a black and white situation. That's all.
Ren, it sounds like what you're saying is we should not look at it as if she did not have the capacity to live an upright life, even though he initially met her while she was working in the porn industry. And if I'm hearing what Sky was saying clearly, it sounds like Sky is saying he should have known that because she was working in the porn industry, that a tiger doesn't change their stripes. So she's going to be what she always was, right? And so your argument is, hey, people can change. And the moment the moment we worked through where you were, you did have the capacity to not be that anymore. And so therefore, I would expect that you have left that life behind, right? And essentially, Sky was saying, well, he should hold the responsibility because you got her where she was. Like, you can't, to MTR's point, you can't change a hoe into a housewife, right? Like, you can't change a tiger's stripes. Okay, Amber, what is it that you wanted to say? Because you did make a point earlier that I thought was worthy to be heard. So let's hear what you got to say on this.
Well, let's start with you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Clearly, that's exactly what homie did. At the same time, to Rennick's point about her becoming her not doing porn anymore, the agreement or conversation was that, well, because he's financially in a position where she doesn't have to. Well, clearly his part of the agreement is broken. And so she went back to work doing what she knew was going to make the most money. So he didn't hold up his end of the bargain, and he did know the type of work that she did beforehand. So he's not blindsided, I would say. I think he's more embarrassed than anything that someone else told him, and she didn't tell him. I believe her justifications were like, it's only myself. I'm not, sleeping with anyone else in these videos. Or either way, it's a deep embarrassment to him, for people to see that his wife is doing OnlyFans. So I
That's
think
wild.
he's more embarrassed. But he wasn't embarrassed to marry her. So why is he embarrassed now? See, we would have never known if
Ooh.
you weren't a part. We would have never known, right? We would have never
Okay.
known. But he wasn't
I got to
embarrassed when he married her.
tell me when you say that, that's wrong. See, this goes back to a stigma that I think that exists. When a man sees a woman, he doesn't see what she does professionally. He sees a woman and he just loves her. Like a rich man, you could take a rich, wealthy man, and you could take a female who works at McDonald's, who's literally a nanny, who is essentially, a cleaning service person. And if that man has eyes for her, he will marry that woman and uplift her and bring her on a much higher status.
I agree
I
with
don't
you.
think that I don't think I
I'm
don't
not
think that
diminishing.
dynamic works the opposite way. I don't think he should be held wrong for seeing more out of her. There's a lot of women who do stuff like there's women who will strip to pay for college. It's an honorable, they're trying to make a way for themselves. And the only way that they see in that moment is by stripping so that they can get enough money to pay for college. Now, we would hope that there are more opportunities afforded to them so that they wouldn't have to resort to that. But a lot of women do that. And I think there's men who can rationalize the decision and say, well, okay, you were in a desperate place and you did what you had to do to survive. A lot of times people are in survival mode. So I don't think he should be faulted for the fact that he chose a person who was maybe down and out initially and she was on survival mode and trying to do her best to elevate herself out of her situation. And he said, look, irrespective of where you are and what you look like and how this situation may be, I'm gonna cover you. I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna make what's mine yours. I'm gonna elevate you. That's like how we romanticize relationship through the Disney stories that we read. The Cinderella, who's this poor person who's the last viewed. She goes to the ball and she gets dressed up in this pretty garment and she puts on the shoe, even though she's not really that. She's pretending. And then the prince, out of everyone in the place, some people who are dignitaries and some people who are from prestigious families, he doesn't see any of them. He sees Cinderella and he gets gravitated to Cinderella. And we all fall in love with the story that the poor woman can meet this rich prince, or, Naomi can meet her Boaz, or, you know what I mean? Like, somebody can meet their Boaz, like that knight in shining armor who's going to elevate them from their situation. I think that's the story of a lot of women, right? Like, it's kind of the expectation, although that story is not reflected the opposite way. If a woman is in a higher position than a man and he's down and out and he works for $15 an hour, he's not really doing it, it's negatively looked upon if a woman was to take that man and to lift him up. She's like, well, I'm not gonna raise no man. I can't. He don't make my money. He's not on my level. He's not da da da. And now it's this stigma where it's like a woman would never really extend that. Not to say that there isn't women who do, because there are some women who make more money, who love their husbands, who honor them. But a majority of them, especially in the Black community, would disagree. Would say, oh, I can't make more money. I can't make more money than my man. He's not on my level. I think that's how Kevin Samuels got successful, because a lot of Black women would say, oh, that man's not on my level. I'm a six figure. He should at least meet me where I am. And if a man's lower, then he can't do that. So in this man's case, he was doing what most people would view as the honorable thing that we see depicted in some of these storyline Disney World things that we all grew up on, right? Believing that the man is supposed to elevate the woman, right? So he did that. Now, in so doing that, I don't think the issue is that, because I could see a case being made on her part where she says, hey, I love our family and we were down and out, and I felt like I needed to do everything I needed to do to keep us afloat. I could see the heart for that. I could see her sitting down and saying, honey, I'm thinking about potentially taking this back on because it can give us the money that we need to do this. But I'm going to run it by you first to get your blessing on doing it, because obviously it's going to affect, our family is going to affect that. A conversation is all the man was really asking for, right? That was where the respect, that part of it was. The fact that she didn't feel like she owed him a conversation and she did it, that's the only place where he's got grounds. It may just be, and that's why I don't want to just jump to throwing her under the bus and saying she's a horrible person. No, that's a woman that probably is like, look, I love you and I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep things afloat. You know what I'm saying? But I think why MTR did some research and found some other clips of her making other comments, you can kind of see the mindset. I don't get the sense that she was doing it for anything more than she enjoyed it. I don't get the sense that she felt like I had to save our family, because if that was the case, the way she would represent that when she weighed in on the Cheesecake Factory lady, she's like, oh, I wouldn't have had. She's already talking that, a lot of times there's women who's kind of, modern day women who feel like, they're entitled to certain things. And
Can I interject, please?
Go ahead. Go in there.
Okay. So maybe I wasn't clear, but I don't think she's a horrible person. I think I feel exactly what you said. She felt like she had to step in and support her family. You made a lot of different points and I was trying to keep up, but you mentioned like a Cinderella sort of situation. Well, if he's an NBA player and she was an adult film star or an adult sex worker at some point, we're aware that her industry makes a lot of money. That in that industry, she probably made a lot of money. Now, the drawback to that industry is that it's morally looked at as bad, but as far as finances, she probably was making decent money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so getting with him, he has to be able to support what she makes or better. So you're saying this modern women thing, she clearly has always been that way. That's not a new concept. She is the perfect definition of what a hypergamous woman what a woman is supposed to do. You're supposed to give the reins over to the man that you choose to be with, and he's supposed to take care of you. And then if the woman has to step in and do the taking care of for whatever his financial situation has become, now she feels She feels a way about it. And she went back to what she knows how to do, knows how to make the most money. She is wrong for not communicating that with him, but that's her husband. So she knew that if she communicated with him that he would tell her no. She knew that. So she definitely went behind his back to do it. But I think he is the one who should be responsible for that. That's his family. If he wants to be the leader, then he should have been leading. She should have not felt like she needed to hide anything from him to make money to support them financially so they
So
can
time out. I don't
maintain
think
the
I'm hearing you
lifestyle.
right. Are you
Maintain the
saying you
lifestyle.
felt like she was justified in doing what she did behind his back?
I said
No.
she was wrong for doing it behind his back, but
Okay.
I'm saying he has to be responsible for that. If you knew that she was capable of, doing sex work, are you surprised that she's doing sex work when you know that you're financially down and out? You see the money coming in. Where do you think the money coming from? You comfortable that it's her making the money and bringing it in the house? And one thing that she did say was she's had it for over a year and he didn't know. And it was easily found in her bio on her Instagram that he has access to, and he wasn't paying her no attention. She said that that's how removed from her he was. He's not paying attention to nothing that this woman's doing, but he eating off whatever money she bring in the house though. He's responsible.
I just to slightly interject here. I want to clarify because I don't know if I made like it pretty clear. The people who do like the sex work and everything else like that, no, there's nothing wrong with their character or anything else like that. No, I'm not morally judging people because I don't have the place to morally judge someone. So I just want to knock that off or just put that out there so it's out in the forefront. Number two, as far as like the modern women thing, this is what I say as far as like, why didn't he see this before? Because B, you brought up the statement as far as modern, it's not just women that live in today's age that are considered quote unquote modern women. I feel like it's a mindset that goes into modern womenisms or whatever you want to call it. And that's why I say like, but like based off the other videos of her like comments and everything else like that to me shows a reflection of like how you view different things like in life. And that to me, I feel like, but like you said before, B, like I feel like it's something that you shouldn't ignore. But like you said before, B, when men romanticize women, it's something that they have the potential to completely ignore serious red flags. And those can definitely have an impact as what we see today. And then to add on top of that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. B, you being the leader of your household, Rennick, you being the leader of your household, if you're seeing sums of money being funneled into your house, and I mean, and these are not small sums of money. We're talking Onlyfans people that make dumb money. Are you going to question that? Or are you just going to assume, oh, it's probably one of her 2-3 jobs? I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm asking people who, men of the house.
I'm definitely going to be questioning the inordinate amount of finances that have been coming in. But I'm not going to assume that there's something spooky or weird going on. To Amber's statement earlier, just really quick, it's absolutely not his fault for her going and doing something crazy like this. She is a grown woman. She made that decision on her own. And you know what? Like, yeah, he may have been not paying attention. And by the way, I'm gonna speak for all men when I say this. We tend to not pay attention a lot of damn times. We're all in the air over here. Okay, we are aloof to a lot of things. because we're thinking about so many other things. When it comes to our woman, we're like, man, I trust her. It's all good. I'm
She's a
not
grown
getting
up.
sneaky. But and that's another thing too. I think Amber said that because that came from a statement of a woman, right? A woman is gonna be checking in on everything. She
Yeah, they pay
making sure
attention to
that
details.
the nooks and crannies. She looking all under the bed and the corners and the cabinet and the under the damn coffee cup. It don't matter. The coasters underneath the coasters are getting checked. Okay, men do not move like that. That's why women say, like, how did you not see that? Why don't you get it? I don't understand why you just don't get it. Like, do you understand why we just don't get it? Because we're not women. We don't move like that. We go to the grocery store, you give us a list, we might come back with some different stuff. It just happens like that. Like, it is what it is. These are the manisms, okay? Like, we do these things. So when it comes to she changed her bio on her Instagram account. Do you understand? I am not worried about looking at your damn bio and reading your bio and wondering what the hell you changed on it. I'm not even looking at your Instagram account most of the time. Yeah, I don't got the type of time to be running up behind your Instagram and be like, oh, you like this picture, you like that picture. I don't like that you like the guy with the big tits or the big chest or whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not worried about that. You my woman, I see you every night. I'm giving you the goods, you know what I'm saying? We doing it and we having a great time, and you show me love, and that's all I need is love and attention and a little bit of ego pumping up. That's and some good food. Yes, please talk to him, preach. But like, I'm not looking at that. So yes, he may have been disconnected, but that does not give a woman a reason to say, I'm just gonna go behind his back and totally disrespect him and our union. And then at the same time, when he comes to press me about it and to get some answers, I'm gonna emasculate him and tell him what you gonna do about it. Like, what? Don't and me, because we're gonna and our way out of this relationship is what we're gonna be anning. That's about it. And you gone. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, get out of here. I'm not dealing with that.
She talks to him like that. She was extremely comfortable speaking to him that way. So she always talks to him like that. That's why she said, what you gonna do about it? That tells me that she called that man bluff often. That was
or
she called his bluff
I
all
just
the
want to
time.
throw this monkey wrench in here because someone had this perspective on it is what it is. What if there is a possibility that he might have known, but because OnlyFans and everything else that's connected, blah, 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 you get the viewers or whatever, she's like, hey, I'm about to go on this live real quick. I just need you. We need to banter a couple words, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? She probably could have showed him what she was making ahead of time before, and they could have played this whole skit on live to make it seem like it's something else. I mean, not saying that is the actual case, but there's a possibility that that is also a factor as well.
I don't agree.
And now
you don't
also
think so?
make a quick point.
Because you already know since this video, her OnlyFans has skyrocketed.
Right.
Let me explain. Well, let me tell you why I don't agree. The point of this video, from MTR standpoint, this dude, Joe Smith, is not getting away with it. He still looks crazy. In the men community, he looks crazy. If you are a man and you have a female that you are calling your wife or your girlfriend or something significant, and she is showing her body for sport to the general public, and God forbid he got children with this woman, and those children got to go to school, and everybody talking about their mommy, squat out like watching on video. That embarrassment, there's no money that's going to solve that for you in the circle of any self-respecting man is not going to be okay with that. Period.
So then I have this question to throw in there. So no self-respecting man would allow that, but self-respecting that particular, let's just throw this out there as if self-respecting men would be okay with their women taking over majority of the household. I mean, because apparently that also hits men's ego too.
Well,
you got some men that won't deal with women that make more than
this is where I'm going to speak to that. I personally, I feel like there's something that was really overlooked here. Life can be very cyclical in life. There's times in life you're up and you're up good. And there's times in life you're down and you're down bad. Okay? What I heard him say is this man had a 15-year NBA career where he grossed $60 million. He met her while he was in the NBA. And so for 15 years, she enjoyed the perks of a life. None of her porn situation was ever going to give her access to that type of money, that type of lifestyle. So this man, for the majority of their time together, carried the relationship, the financial burden of both of their lifestyles. Them expensive cars he was buying, guess who was driving those? Not just him. She was driving that too. She was enjoying the perks of those too. She had access to those accounts too. She could have took money and stored it away too. You don't think she was buying expensive bags and expensive shoes and she was blowing through the money with him? That's why she came to him.
I'm not
She came to
disagreeing with
help
that.
him spend the money. So this is the part of it that I sometimes don't love, is that it make it seem like this man is dropping a bag. Yeah, in this particular phase of his life, he's down and out. That's part of the cyclical parts of the life. But what kind of partner is she that she only sees the moments where he's down and out, and she doesn't see the many a years where he was carrying the burden for both of their lifestyle and all of their family lifestyle? He afforded her a life she would have never experienced had it not been for him. He didn't have to choose her. This is a tall, black, handsome NBA player who could have any woman in the world, first round pick.
Can I
He's
hop in
been
real
getting the
Absolutely
box.
right.
Can I hop
What?
on real
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So you said that, he could have any woman in the world, and he decided to spend his NBA money on whores and prostitutes. And he married one that he liked a lot. Clearly, I mean, that's just what that is. So,
Mhm.
okay. So he was giving her money to fund the lifestyle she was having. And then they got married, and she also enjoyed the lifestyle. When a man who is supposed to be the head of the family decides to choose a wife, why didn't he pick a woman with a law degree? So at some point, if he got down and out, she had something to fall back on. This woman is not doing anything any other woman wouldn't do in her profession prior to marriage.
You got it,
Right or wrong?
Ren. You look like you want to hop
If
in.
she had a law, if she was a woman that had a law degree, when her husband was down and out, she would go back to legal work. She would have that to fall back on. This woman is doing the same thing. She's falling back on what she was doing prior to maintain the lifestyle that she had. You know, I have a background in criminal justice.
You
I
sound
have
crazy with that argument.
No, that's not. I'm saying she's taking care of him in the space where he's down and out, like you said, and she's falling back on her
Look,
previous career
his
prior to her.
at this point, I don't even feel like she's doing it for him.
But also, I wanted to speak on that as well, because you all mentioned the way she was speaking about it, how she seemed like she didn't have emotion behind it, or she didn't really care. Remember, she's a porn star. Her job is to make you believe that she's enjoying what she's doing. She has to be convincing. So just keep that in mind. When she speaks, she has to be very convincing when her acting. So
Go ahead,
just
Ren.
keep
You
that
got it.
thoughts.
Amber.
You were really counting
Amber.
that as acting?
Amber, I gotta give you a hug through the phone, my girl. I have to give you a hug through the phone. Holy. That dialogue was something else. Listen.
Amber tried to tell you the sky is green.
Amber, it's raining. Don't tell. Listen, you can't drop poop on my head and tell me it's rain. Okay. At the end of the day, that, by the way, Amber, you're gonna make me sound like a feminist when I say, what do you mean he should have got a lawyer or someone of an astute background? Like, hold on. No matter what career or path a woman goes down professionally, like, for her to have dignity and to be held up with, significant class, like, just because she's a stripper or a porn star doesn't mean she's not dignified.
Or that she's a
That
bad
has
person.
nothing.
She could
That
have
has
been
nothing to do
down
with
and out.
anything. And she can make qualified, quantified decisions that are in the best interest of her relationship, no matter what her background is, because she is a
That's a
human
fact.
first before she is anything. So at the end of the day, when you make a decision that you know will drastically affect your relationship and you do it anyway, you just have to hold that up to just she wanted to do it. And she can make better decisions no matter what. She can make better decisions and say, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And if I do want to do that and fall back into those, that talent, I know how it will make my man feel if I get naked on camera and then put it out for the world to see. I know that he's probably not going to like that. So instead of doing it behind his back, I should probably just advise him that I want to do this. Even if I want to take the righteous path and be like, no matter what you say, I feel like this and I'm going to do this. I'm just letting you know before I do it. Even if it's that, she should at least go there with it so they can have a back and forth, as opposed to, I don't want to use the term shady, but doing it behind his back. Like, come on.
To B's point about a woman having her man's back, when he's down and out, because there was a period in the relationship where he was the one that was, the head financially. And so I'm speaking to her as a person who had a career before she met him. She's doing that. She just went back to the career that she was doing prior to their relationship. So I'm using that in parallel to a woman who had a law degree prior. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying she's not doing it. She's taking care of her man. That's how she views it. She views it as that's what she's doing. Bills need to be paid.
Because apparently the two or three jobs, whatever how many jobs she had before, wasn't cutting
Here's
it.
what I'm
not
say.
Like I said, I'm not excusing her. I'm just saying
and
the context and what she clarified. The 2-3 other jobs she tried to go, quote unquote, the moral ground, whatever you want to call it, those weren't working.
Right.
Here's what I'm gonna say.
My last point, real quick. My last point is, I think Rennick, you mentioned she just wanted to do it. I think that's coming across because the industry she's in is about pleasure. So anybody that does that, y'all are just like, oh, she wanted to do that. I'm positive she didn't want to do that. That's why she had 2 or 3 other jobs to try to keep the finances afloat before she actually went back to the sex work industry. Because honestly, she could probably do that and quit all the other businesses. She really could. So clearly she attempted to do other things first before she decided, okay, I just have to do this because this is going to yield me the most amount of money.
Okay, I have one thing to add to this thing. I probably would agree with you if she took the tone of some sort of respect for her husband in the video. The way she was talking to her husband did not show me that she had any reverence or any respect for him. I didn't even hear any remorse.
I will agree with that.
She sounded flippant. She sounded like she was annoyed that she even had to explain herself to this man.
I mean, first of all, it started with her recording their conversation. I feel like anything of that type
already.
Anything of that type of it holds that type of intensity. I really don't know the word to describe it, but anything that holds that type of intensity, any type of convo that is something like that has to be, you have to face that person, look at that person, let them know, communicate with them, so you can see body language, face gestures, everything else. Like, it's the same thing with the Cheesecake Factory chick. She didn't even bother looking in the man's direction when he waited for her for 90 minutes to do whatever the heck she was doing, and then tried to make last minute plans in order to save face, to at least be respectful enough to her. And I totally agree with that. When you start off a conversation by recording and you're mainly looking at the camera, you're not even facing that person. When you could tell by his body language, one, like you said, Amber, he was embarrassed. You could tell that he's kind of like distraught and everything else like that. But to give it no type of emotional consideration, to be like, And let me cut this camera off. But to put it not only on camera but on live.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother area of disrespect that to me is uncalled for.
I almost feel like sometimes women don't understand like how much men value respect. Like if you told your girlfriend about a conversation your man had with you, he feel disrespected because he's gonna have to run into your girlfriend and then she's gonna look at him a certain way. If you go and tell a relative something about your spouse that's between the two of you, just one person in your family unit is gonna feel away. If you are broadcasting on the World Wide Web, if y'all notice his posture, he's looking behind. She, like you said, she's not even engaging him. This is such a serious conversation that you got to sit your spouse down. This is like a pillow talk. Hey, babe, I know money's tight right now. I don't want us to lose everything. I'm willing to go all hands in to help. If you need me to, I'll go back to what I was doing before. It was making good money. Obviously I don't want to do it behind your back. I want you to feel honored. Let me know what you need me to do so I can help our family. There would have been some level of honor. I have not heard. And again, there's a part of me that wants to be sympathetic for the fact that maybe she's like, look, I'll work 2-3 jobs. I'll do whatever I got to do to keep us together. She's a pretty girl. She don't even have to stay with him. I'm sure she can go and find another man who's got more than he does, right? So there's something commendable. Maybe their relationship is not something easily explainable to us on the outside looking in. They may have a real bond, right? She may have her own issues and the way she handled things ain't great, but maybe he doesn't care. Like he loves her, and despite her faults, despite her flaws, he still wants to deal with her. But there's still certain elemental respect things that is essential to the relationship that I don't feel she understands. The way that she was talking to him, she was flippant. She was dismissive of his feelings. She didn't seem like she cared. And she was almost making it seem like she was throwing it in his face that they had financial troubles. That's another hard thing for any man to accept. Because if I was him, I'd be thinking, damn, sis, I've been taking care of your ass for 16 plus years in this house, living a life your ass would have never lived, driving cars, going to trips, having exposure to a bunch of things you would have never had. Had it not been for what I was doing, I brought you up here. You ain't have to be here. For you to try to flip in my face, then now you gotta help me because I'm down and out after I've been carrying you for 16 years. You feel what I'm saying? A husband and a wife should not be keeping tabs like that. Hey, what about the time that I was working 3 jobs to help you and I had to spread my... Nah, that's not, bruh. This is what I had to do to keep us up. There may be a time where I'm down and out. You got to do something to keep us up. That's the point of the union. That's the point of the relationship, the connection. It shouldn't be about this superficial, who's doing what. Once we're together, if you're down bad, I'm down bad. If I'm down bad, you're down bad. That's what, to me, and this is why I did that show some time ago on modern day marriage, how like the interpretation of what marriage is, literally the vows that we take when we stand up is we say through sickness and through health, through death do us part, poverty or riches, whatever it is that we go through, we're going to go through it together. We're not going to go through it where when I'm out, when I'm looking crazy, when I'm hurt, when I'm not good, when I'm not at my best, you're going to use that as something to throw in my face. Oh, well, why did I have to work 3 jobs? Sis, because I was down and out. But for 16 years, I wasn't down and out, and you was eating and living good. You know what I'm saying? And in the same way, he shouldn't have to go back to her and be like, remember when you was busting it wide open on the poles because you couldn't eat good? Now I done made sure you had steak and lobster for the last 16 years. He's not throwing that in her face. You feel what I'm saying? And in the same way, if he did, he'd be wrong for that.
I think sis was making pretty good money. She's quite beautiful. I really don't think sis was ramen. I don't think she was a ramen noodle chick. I think she's, and now OnlyFans, don't they pull in like $100 grand plus a month if they have a nice... Yo, sis is she's doing good. So his 16 plus years, that's fine. But
what you don't... you don't even realize. Maybe she's making 100,000. Let's just say she's making
A month.
100,000 a month. Okay, if that's 1.2 million a year, right? Let's say she's
Mhm.
doing that, right?
Mhm. But
They
that's
blew through
good life.
$16 million.
But that's still a good life, though. You can't say
They
you
Hear
would
what
have
I'm
had
saying?
more if
They would have had. Look at how fast they're spending money. They blew through $16 million in 15 years. That's $1
buying
million
some
a
things that
year.
they again
Buying, consuming.
buying.
So even if she's making $100,000, if she still has the same spending habits, you know she was blowing through that money.
right.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is that's neither here nor there. That's a null and void point. She may be making good money, but if you don't have the principles to stack your money, to reserve, to invest, to do the things you need to do so that you can grow your money and double your money and make money on top of money and make your money
Right.
work for you, you're just a chick who's a high earner, but you blow through it. You
I have
spend a lot.
And this is what I was saying before, as there are some things, and it goes not only for men, but also for women. When you're choosing your partner, have a filtering process so you
That's a
can,
fact.
so that way, because everything that we keep saying, like, oh, well, did you see that this is the third? It still points back to square one. The choice was made between the both of them, flaws and all, to be
right. I have
lifelong partners, and that means consequences that go thereof. So that means that, as Rennick was saying, when you decide to be the lifelong partners with a person, you're willing to take that journey with them. If you kind of saw things that were a little I don't know about this journey, you could have had you're out a while ago. I mean, I don't to me it just doesn't make sense to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. It doesn't make sense.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So we've established that she went behind her husband's back. She did not communicate with him. He would probably have appreciated a conversation. So we can all agree on those things, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
have a question about the complete opposite. So Adam 22's wife does
That's
porn.
Rennick's boy. He knows her. You know
Okay.
Adam, right, Rennick? He
Okay.
knows him. That's his
So
boy.
okay. Yes, this question is for Rennick and Mr. B. So Adam 22 and his wife are millionaires. They don't need the money, but they do porn together. Well, recently his wife did a scene or a sex scene with another male. So this would be the first male that she's done porn with since she's been married, I'm assuming. And her husband agreed to it. Her
He not
husband
only
agreed.
agreed to it, he pimped
Mhm.
out his wife. He offered
Right.
her. And to
So
other guests on his show, he
mhm.
pimps out his wife. I don't respect that man. I don't. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I
he's
just don't.
corny to me.
So that's what
First and
I'm just
foremost,
saying. It
my
don't one
wife ain't doing none of that.
But
Mm-mm-mm.
that's my no. Hold on, we're not judging. Remember, we're not judging. They're porn stars. They do.
Oh,
We're
I'm
not.
judging.
I'm
I'm
asking.
judging.
My question is. My question is. It's okay that they are okay. It's okay that Adam 22 is okay with his wife doing that. He's the one who gave her the green light. Now, Mr. Joe Smith didn't give his wife the green light, and she has a OnlyFans where it's only her, and she was doing it in secret. But Adam 22, who is not hurting for money, his wife didn't need to do a scene with another male because they were down and out and needed the money. They didn't need the money. So to me, they actually did it for clout because they didn't need it. It didn't appear that it was a purpose behind that because they were making the money. They're pretty wealthy. They didn't need to do that. So I'm asking, so you're saying that it's not okay that she didn't ask her husband. It's not okay that she did it behind his back. And it's also not okay that Adam 22 agreed to his wife doing a scene with another male. So when is it ever okay? Or y'all would never agree to it? I mean that
I got a lot to say on this one. I'm gonna let Rennie go first because that's his boy. So I'm gonna go ahead.
It's a very touchy subject. Right? Let's just start there. It's a touchy subject. And another thing too, in that relationship that you're referring to, ain't nobody treating anybody like you ain't shit. Like there ain't that you ain't shit conversation or attitude happening in that relationship. You can see that she feels that way about him and has felt that way about him for some time, to be able to fix her lips to talk to that man like that. Like for her to even get to the point where she feels powerful enough to even talk to him like that is crazy. And also clearly his self-esteem is super low, right? And she feels like, who are you gonna get that looks like me? You ain't getting nothing better than me. That's how she feels. And he may actually feel like that. And she knows it, and therefore she's utilizing all of that against him. Like that's what's happening there. That there's a power dynamic there that a lot of people aren't looking at and not realizing that it is extremely toxic. Like, and that's why I said in the first place that he should just be out of there, right? Now in the other to go to what you're actually mentioning, Amber, that's a consensual business relationship where two human beings are saying, hey, we're in this together, we do this together. I'm going to allow you to do this, and you are going to allow me to do this. If you think for 1 second that that is a standard type of relationship, you're out of your mind. It's not like that. It's literally 50% business, 50%, or I would even say 25% obsession with sex, and then the other 25% is like real love, right? But 50% of that, the majority of that is business. Like they're going, we make a crap ton of money doing this porn shit, so let's stick to that. And Adam is such a man that he understands that, look, as a man, I have to set the direction of what is going to be happening here. I can't sit up here and perch on my stool, put my stool on my perch and say, oh, I can be the only one, dictating how these things are going to go and so on and so forth. What I'm asking her to go above and beyond to make the money. So he's saying, yo, go ahead and do this. And he's already put it in his mind, believe it or not. Let me give you an inside scope on the mind of a man. Once we figure in our heads, man, I don't care if some other dude dicks you down. We don't actually care about you like that. We don't care about you like that. Like you can just disappear and it'll be just another thought in the head of like, yo, let her do her thing. Let the birds of the feather, the flock, and however you say it, let the wings fly. Like we don't care about you like that. If a man ever allows another man to put his dick inside your vagina, yo, it's a wrap. You can officially put it in your mind, my jewels. He does not look at me like that. Like that's the only reason, because it's business. It's like, yo, yeah, it's my lady. She's the mother of my children, or my kid rather. Like that's all good. But like if something were to happen where she decided to say like, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to be with you anymore, he gonna be like, okay, you don't want to do this, so that means the business is dissolved. What are you worth to me anymore? The business is gone. That's the majority of why we're even in this thing. So he's gonna be able to go, all right, we're just gonna co-parent, and she's out of there. Like he's not gonna try and save it. Like, oh, if he tries to save it, it's because of the business. It's not because he's like, oh, this is my woman. I'm telling you now, facts. And I'm not trying to throw anybody out there. And this is, by the way, I'm allegedly saying that this is the case for Adam. I'm not saying it's the case for Adam. I'm just saying that as a man, I'm speaking for the majority of men, that this is our mindset, not all. Okay, there might be weak-minded men out there who are in a cloud of days that say, oh, this makes sense and I truly love her, and I don't care if some of the man makes her feel better than me. And by the way, another thing too, I don't care if if I'm a porn star, I don't care if this man has the same size as my dick. It could have the same girth, everything. If I don't care, ain't none of that going in my woman, man. And it's bigger than me. That's not happening. That's extra not happening.
He sure did. He sure absolutely did. They had a whole interview and everything else, post whatever video. And he asked his wife, and his wife was like, yeah, I do feel a little sore, this and the third, blah, blah, blah. This and the third. And then, I mean, like this, here's what I don't agree with it, is when they were having the conversation, you could see like in her body language, it was my interpretation. You could see in her body language, she felt a little uncomfortable having the conversation with a dude that she just filmed with, and her husband continuing the conversation like, well, how did it feel? I know you were sore for a couple of days. You didn't even want me to, sleep with you for a couple of days. Like, whoa, like that's a lot.
Okay.
So, bro,
there's a term.
Also, before she did the filming part with the dude, she did say, like, at first, like, no, I didn't want to do it. Adam talked with me. I still didn't want to do it. But then after, Adam talked with me some more, then I wanted to do it. I mean, yes, they came together to that decision, but it's just, I don't know.
Okay. So I think there's two things here we got to tackle. Rennick kind of put it together. When he just said, and he knows a dude, it's a business interaction. It's something totally different. At that point, that dude's about the bag. He's not about the woman. I think the title of married means nothing to those people, right? I think marriage has to mean something to you for you to uphold to the principles of marriage. You can't just say you married and you don't understand what married entails, right? Any self-respecting man would not be comfortable offering his wife up to any stranger to come bust her down. I don't know any self-respecting man that would do that. Now, the men that go along with that, there's a term for them. It's like the cuckold or something like that is what they call them, because they've lost every ounce of manhood that they have to the point that they're so in need of this woman's gratifying feedback and love and admiration that they are willing to let her do anything to get that back from him. To me, that's a defeated man. It's okay as a man, if you're dealing with a woman, to say outright, look, I'm not comfortable with that. And if she still wants to go and be a part of that and do that, remove yourself from the situation. Take the L. You chose the wrong one. Get out of there. Preserve your self-respect. Like, you understand you took a L. Like, this was just the wrong one. And walk away with your self-respect. Like, yo, shorty was on to something different. I was not down with that type of lifestyle. I had to get up out of Dodge. Because as a man, if you can't say to your woman, I'm not comfortable with this, and she gonna do it anyway, even though you telling her you're not comfortable, bruh, you don't got no leg in that race. Like, you don't have a horse in that race. She's running you. You're not running her. And if you're supposed to be the person who's the head of the household, and you can't tell your woman, I'm not comfortable with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not comfortable with another man dicking you down in front of me. Like, but see, the thing with that situation is dude was comfortable. If he's the one talking his wife into it, that's something different. You know what I'm saying? That's like a business relationship that, apparently it's like he saw more of the money than he saw anything else. Do y'all remember that movie with Woody Harrelson and what's shorty's name back in the 90s? The little Spanish lady. And
you talking about Rosie Perez?
Rosie Perez. And,
you talking
and
about
Woody,
White Man Can't Jump?
Right? No, it wasn't White Man Can't Jump. It was the man who gave the money. Was it White Man Can't Jump? It could have been. The man who offered up the money to sleep with his wife for one night. No, it wasn't White Man Can't Jump. It was another one. There was a movie where
know what
a
you're
guy.
talking about. That's a good movie. I can't think of the name of it.
It's actually a very good movie. Yeah.
It's Demi Moore, right? It's Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson.
Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson. Yes. He offered The rich man offered this man, they were down and out, finances was tight. He said, yo, give me your wife for one night, I'll pay you $1 million. And the wife was like, no, I don't want to do that. And he talked her into it.
Mm-hmm.
Messed around, lost his wife, D. But that tells you any man who's just so thirsty for money that he's willing to sell out the wife's integrity. If you're willing to do that with your wife, you might be willing to do that to your daughter. You might be willing, like, there's so much issues there, bro, that to me it's just crazy. And there's some people who make a living out of that. You know what I mean? There's some dudes who just, they're not emotionally connected like that. You know what I'm saying? But I think Rennick said it best when he said, like, if a dude's gonna be willing to offer you up and say, oh yeah, go sleep with him. Oh yeah, go. He don't take you serious. He don't think you're his wife. Oh no way. You know what I'm saying? If a dude's okay with you sleeping with any random dude, like you like, oh okay, my friend want to sleep with you, and he offering you to his friend, that dude don't think much about you. You are like the pass around girl. You're not somebody that he's really valuing. If a dude cares about you, whether you're dating him or not dating him, and he's already telling you like, yo, preserve yourself, protect your image. That's an element. It's almost a second nature thing that men do to the women they care about. I would say the same thing to my sister. I would say the same thing to my daughter. I would say the same thing to my wife. You know what I'm saying? That's three different roles. As a brother, I would want to preserve my sister's, her innocence. As a father, I would want to preserve my daughter's innocence. And as a husband, I would want to preserve my wife's innocence, in her image, in her self-respect, in her, status, right? So because as a man, it's second nature to want to protect and preserve, our household. We're not going to offer our females up in that manner. Absolutely not. Could never do that. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know why that's blinking like that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like there's some things that, it's very indicative that he was wrong. I saw an Andrew Tate interview with him too. And Andrew Tate was like, dude was trying to offer me his wife, and would you do that? And he was trying to clown him. And he was like, dude, he was like, I felt she was embarrassed having to sit there and hear her husband say that about her. But it goes to Rennick's point. If he's gonna say that, that's a business relationship. Because dude's more concerned about the hype behind that particular podcast and what he's being basically saying than the honor of his wife. Like, as a man, you want your wife to be honored when she steps outside. You don't want no man gawking over her. You don't want no man feeling like he could come and approach her and solicit her for sex. And you know what I mean? Like, that's why dudes fight. That's why they step in front of that. So the moment you're not offering your wife like that, every other guy is gonna think, oh, that's not a serious relationship. Because no guy would do it. Does not come second nature to any guy. You could take any guy across the face of this earth, and in their mind, they already know inherently their wives shouldn't be fraternizing with any other man like that.
So
Instinctually, they know it.
So would you say that both men are wrong in the situation?
Which one?
But
The black guy? For
yeah,
blanking
well,
it?
I'm saying the NBA player Joe Smith, because he married a person who, that was her career, and he was okay with it. And then you
Okay.
have Mr. Adam 22 who actually agreed to it. So I'm asking, do you think they're both essentially wrong for making those decisions, or the latter?
Okay, so with Adam 22, I'll give him my piece and then I'll let you go, Rennet. We'll start with the Joe Smith fellow. With that guy, I'm gonna say this. There's a couple points. I do believe that men need to be selective with the type of woman they marry. And sometimes if you choose a woman of low integrity, right? Sometimes it's an explainable thing. I believe that God and Jesus Christ could change anybody. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. I believe you could take women who were prostitutes and they become great wives. You know what I'm saying? They leave that life behind. There are a ton of women who has done that, right? But I do believe the majority of women are outside of God and some sort of strong foundational, religious conviction of some sort to convict them to walk away from that life. I believe there's certain ways that a woman can be broken when they're in that life, that they become numb. And a lot of women in that industry are in that industry because of some childhood trauma that they went through, where they've disassociated sex as something meaningful and positive and good. You know what I'm saying? They're just seeing sex as a transactional thing. And to me, I don't know that lady's full story to know how she ended up where she was selling herself like that. There's a lot of women who have been violated, sometimes by their own family members. They've been violated as little girls, and they grow up with all these bad habits. And I don't believe you need to throw people away, because I can't say that she was a bad person. I think she obviously told him the story, and after he heard the story and had plenty of other options, he felt sympathetic to her and chose to elevate her to a place where he made her the wife. And up until this point, I haven't heard about her being out there like that. So I don't know that she's been outside trying to violate him, because it's not like they're steadying the news for these type of things. So I'm not saying, I don't know if this is something she's recently taken on as of a couple of years ago. You know what I'm saying? Once they started having financial hardships that led her back into that world. So I can't say that she didn't make a transition. She wasn't a respectable wife to him from the point that he initially married her. I don't know enough about the story to make that level of judgment on it. What I can say is, men should be more selective about the type of women they do marry. And if you are going to decide not to be, make sure you have convictions behind why you're not being, and make sure that you get the person the counseling and the stuff they need to ensure that change is real, so that when they are now playing a new role in your life, they understand what it entails and they can elevate to that place. Now, on the flip side, do I believe that she was wrong, that he was wrong? I don't necessarily. I believe that he holds some responsibility for choosing a woman like that. But that it comes with that, right? But at the same time, too, I think, I think she holds just the responsibility of not telling him. It would have been a total different conversation if she said, "Look, we were down and out, babe. I didn't know what to do. I don't want us to get put out of our house. I was willing to do whatever I had to do just to keep us afloat." As a man, that would be humbling to hear. But I think there's a part of you as a man that would be like, damn, like you was just trying to help us. It's not something that's proud. It's something he would still feel ashamed about. But I feel like he would have then wanted to protect her, saying, nah, we got financially tight and she just did what she felt like she had to do. You know what I'm saying? But the way that she was coming across, it seemed as if like she lost so much respect for him that she was throwing it in his face. Like, don't say shit to me. Don't talk back to me. This is what I'm doing. And I don't have to bring this to you because I got to work 2-3 jobs. Like there was this level of resentment that she had to do it, but like almost like she was ungrateful for the 16 years of lavish living that she's been experiencing with this man. And now that they're in a patch in their life where that wasn't the case, all of a sudden she's like, like spiteful towards him about it. So to that point, it was a little off-putting to me on that front. So for that reason, I would say I would give her a little bit more of the blame for the way that she handled the matter than I would give to him. But I think there's blame to be passed around on both ends, right? As a man, I think you either got to take a stand like, yo, you not doing that. And the moment you do that, I'm out of here. Like the fact though, even the way he handled that, there's absolutely no way I'm talking to my wife and she's OnlyFansing me. She's got me on live. That phone would have been broke so quick. Like how I'm standing around allowing you to film me in my house while we're having a conversation like this to embarrass me. Either that phone would have been broke or you would have been talking to yourself. But I'm not a part of that fiasco that you're doing. Hell no, I would have dipped out of there or I'm breaking that phone. There's absolutely no way you're depicting me like this. Absolutely no way as a man. And then at some point we have to just decide that we're not a fit and take a position. You feel what I'm saying? But there's no way you can allow that. And that's why you got to position yourself in a manner to not allow that. So on that front, I would say that's for him. Adam 22, I don't respect anything about how he handled that situation. Whether it's business or not business. I just don't love it. If that's your girl, call her your girl. Know that it's a thing, but don't throw marriage in there. The reason why I feel like the marriage part is I feel like you start antagonizing God. Like I feel like it's super disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like you saying this is your wife and you thoughting your wife out like you're pimping her. You know what I'm saying? And this is your wife and your union is supposed to be you, her in a God situation, and you're using the sanctity of marriage to pimp your wife out. I don't like that part of it. You know what I'm saying? Don't call her your wife. Call her your your girl, your
Business associate.
business associate, your partner. There's a ton of your what's it, common law spouse or whatever the situation is. Don't go calling her your wife where you're painting a picture where you went to a church and got married and took vows that supposedly is supposed to mean something, and then you're exploiting your wife for money. That part I don't like, I don't respect. You feel what I'm saying? And so for that, I would say he's in the wrong just as much as she's in the wrong, because I think as a man, you're supposed to be guiding your woman. Sometimes your woman gonna come to you with some crazy ass ideas, and you got to shoot that shit right down. Like, what did you just say? You thought this was a good idea? Oh no, we're not doing that. You got to. You feel what I'm saying? Like, because sometimes she's just emotional and she's just trying to figure out, hey, we need money. I can go sell OnlyFans. No, sis, something you must have bumped your head. You gonna do what? You feel what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta re-talk her off the ledge. Like you can't allow your girl to come to you and talk you into allowing her to spread her cheeks all out. Y'all got kids, your kids going to school, and she over here representing your family like that. That's your last name on those people. That's not her last name. That's your last name. That's your family that's being shamed like that. So in a way, you gotta stand up for it. But sometimes some women, they're not manageable in that way. So you gotta just part ways when you need to part ways. So for those, that's sort of my take. I was a little long-winded, but go ahead, Ren. You got it.
Yeah, I don't think any either man is to blame necessarily. I mean, in Adam's situation, I don't, like I said, that's all business. I don't even like to comment on that because of the simple fact that I know what the hell's going on there. Like, I mean, it's like she likes to do this. He knew what he was getting into. He knew he was getting with a certain type of girl, and the man is about the bottom line at the end of the day. And it just so happens that he's able to make the bottom line with a nice looking girl who got a fatty on her and is willing to be adventurous and let him smash upon a whole bunch of different stuff. So he's basically living a single life, but with somebody who's willing to make some money with him, still willing to take care of him at the end of the day, and also he can have a child with and know that at the end of the day she's gonna hold it down, right? Like, and he, in his mind, he's saying, I'm not gonna get jealous of her doing anything that she's doing because this is not what we got going on here. And he understands that at the end of the day he has to hold that and stand by it, because if he doesn't, then the money goes away. That's it. So as far as that, like, I would never do that. I would never ever do that. It's just not for me. And if I did do that, you can rest assured that it's not with a woman that I'm going to marry. It's not with a woman that I'm going to claim is mine, because she's not mine. She belongs to the streets. Like, that's what it comes down to. She's not mine. Like, at the end of the day, and I have no right to sit up here and get in my, that's right. And I can't get in my feelings when she goes out and does something crazy, because I have allowed this nonsense to transpire. And I have essentially signed an emotional contract that says you can't get emotional. So shut up, sit down, and get to what you got to get to that you agreed upon. That's that. Now, on the other end with Joe, I mean, listen, I mean, I feel for the man in the sense that, like, I don't like to watch any man get emasculated. I don't like to watch any man deal with a woman like that, because women like that, like, that's another thing too, is it? And I don't want to go into a whole nother rant here because that's another episode, a whole nother show. But women don't understand the fickleness of a man's ego and how a man's ego can turn scary once you put it in a place where he feels like he needs to put you in your place. And he may not be a man that's righteous and that's honorable. He may be a man that's going through something. He may be a man that has emotional, mental health situations that you don't even know about, that he's been going through and he's been hiding from you. He could be all type of different type of scary. And in that moment right there, she was actually, she has no clue. Like, this could be a man you trust for 10 years. And all of a sudden he has an episode going on and he ain't told you about it yet. And now you emasculating him in front of millions of people. That man right there could have been a crazy ass man in that moment to just turn around, be a stranger to her, and do some foul shit to her. Like, crazy. Like, that's, women don't even know that little action right there, you putting your whole life in danger. Because men do crazy things. Like, he could just be like, oh, what type of timing you on right now? You put this out there, my cousin's gonna watch, my mama gonna watch, my daddy gonna watch, my sister gonna watch, my brother gonna watch, my best friend gonna watch, my boss, whatever. And now he's like, no, you got to pay for this. You got to experience why this hurts my feelings, and you got to experience it in a physical way. He might go and do some crazy stuff like that. You got to think smart when it comes to, like, dealing with men just in general. And I just say that as a dad with a daughter, right? To prepare her for these type of moments, to say, think about your surroundings. Notice your surroundings. Do not get over righteous with where you think you stand. Especially when you're dealing with somebody who has a certain type of power over you that you cannot, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Act accordingly. Be smart. Don't sit up here and say to a man that don't give him a you ain't shit attitude. That might be a reason in that man's mind to put some hands on you or do some other type of shit. Like, you don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I don't blame him. I blame a lot of different things besides the person. I blame, like, where we are in society today with all the negative and just toxic things that we got going on that make women feel like, oh, yeah, it's your body at the end of the day. Yes, of course, you can do whatever you want to do with it. And no man can ever have control of your body. That's a fact. But you made a commitment, and thus you owe it to that man to talk about what's going to be happening with your body. You owe that man that, and he owes you the same. You know what I mean? If you don't have tattoos and he knows that you don't like tattoos, and then he just go out one day and get a whole back tattoo and come home with it, how you gonna feel about that? It's his body, right? No, you probably gonna feel a certain type of way. You're gonna be like, what's up with all that? Why'd you go and do that? You know I don't like that. Of course, that's what you're gonna say, and you have the right to say that, and you're absolutely right to feel that way because you guys talked about that. He joined you knowing that. Like, so, I don't blame him. You know what I mean? I blame the adult. Let's talk about adults. Let's not place blame for people doing things under their own accord. When she decided to do it, she made that decision. And don't put it in your mind, to the two wonderful, beautiful Nubian women on this panel, do not put it in your mind that she is allowed to make whatever decision she wants to with her body while in a relationship with this man, in a marriage with this man. Once you sign that emotional, spiritual contract, that's over. That's all over. It's a couple. You are a union. You are one person. What you do with your body affects her, man. And what she does with her body affects you.
Facts.
So you gotta give each other the respect. Exactly. So this is not a place to be placing no blame. This is about, and by the way, there might be kids who watch something like this. They got to hear the right message, which is, when you make a decision, you don't place the blame on someone else. No matter what they have done to you, you made the decision yourself to go about it the way you did it. That's it. Be responsible, take accountability. That's all. You did it. That's it.
As someone who had their dad talk to them, how you were talking to your daughter, how my dad explained it to me is that men deal in the currency of respect. That's just as plain as it goes. For her to start off again with the video, with the tone, with the lack of care, like you said before, both adults have to be accountable for where they are in that situation. As far as Adam's 22 thing, I'm not even going to comment on that. I'm just being straight up. I don't care for that person, nor do I really respect that whole whatever thing is going on. So I'm just going to not talk about that anymore. But I agree that both sides, it's something for the both of them to navigate. Now, do we know the ins and outs of their relationship? No. Do we know as far as like where all the money went? No. But I do agree that, yes, when you are in a union, when you have come together, you've made your vows and everything else like that, it is no longer it is we. So that's what I feel like on that one. But I definitely feel like both sides need to find some type of way. I pray, just for the sake of marriage, I pray that they're able to find a solution, some type of way that they're able to work things out. I really hope that could work out between them.
Okay, right. Okay, Amber.
Okay, is there a final question that you wanted to?
Okay, the final question is, what lessons can we learn from this whole thing? And we'll go through this relatively pretty quickly, because we've gone over. But what lessons can we learn from this? Obviously, we want to leave on a positive note. I think it's easy for us to talk about people's relationships, not knowing the inner workings of those relationships. So I don't want those people to even feel like we're judging it. I mean, I think there's lessons that can be learned, and I think the whole heart behind this conversation is to be constructive and to pick out gems that we can apply in our own lives, that others can learn from, just to figure out how to better navigate. You know what I'm saying? So any lessons you guys think that can be learned on both sides, both the man and the female side, please share. You never know, that lesson may be very insightful to someone who's listening. So go ahead. You got it, Amber.
I think that traditional marriage, if you don't have a traditional marriage, then I think you should expect non-traditional things out of your marriage. You can't go into a union. You can't go into a union doing things that are not, within the parameters of what God says you should be doing as an individual, and then think that you can get married and then all of a sudden you're going to, now, like you said earlier, I do believe that if someone, brings Christ in their heart, they can change. But obviously that's not what happened. They probably made money their God at some point, and they never made Jesus their center. So with that being said, these non-traditional relationships, I don't expect for the outcomes to be, I actually expect the outcomes to be exactly what we see unfolding online, and it's actually sad to see that. So I actually, I was joking earlier when I said they're probably going to get back together. I actually hope they do get back together, because that's a long time that they've been together, and the vows do say if they really, they've been together a long time. And I hope that they can work out their marriage. I hope that he can forgive her, and I hope she can stop doing OnlyFans. I
I'm
advocate.
sorry. Reddick is shaking his head crazy. I apologize. I'm so sorry.
I advocate for families coming back together. I mean, there's a lot that we saw. We also never saw. We have not had a depiction of them when they're good either. So we can on look and judge them when they're at their lowest, but we don't
To
know
be
what
totally
they're.
honest, I could
Mhm.
I could understand that sentiment. To be totally
Mhm.
honest, I can understand that sentiment from your point of view. Like they have
Mhm.
been in this relationship for 15 years,
Yes.
and this is not a good
I
look.
don't believe you.
Mhm.
This is not a good look.
But can we be real about marriage though? There, it's not always gonna be perfect. It's not. Outside of if you're living an untraditional life individually, if you spend that amount of time with someone, you're going to see that person at their worst, their best. You're going to see it. But if you have deal breakers, like Rennick it's obvious, like that's a deal breaker. Rennick said there's no repairing this. There's no repairing this.
I'm
You can't,
sorry.
they can't come
I'm
back
so-
from that. You don't think they can come back from that? Then you are forsaking your vows continuously if they divorce.
The vows have hit the paper shredder. What? Get out! Oh no!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. Oh, go ahead, Red. Go ahead. Jump in here, bro. Jump in here. Why you say no?
The, the, the vows have left the building. Okay, let's just say that. Oh no, it's full on Saturday Night Live with those vows. What comedy? Come on, look. If you do some, if you do some
Oh my god.
tootin' nanny shit like that to me, man, you're gonna be so fast out of here like a baseball off a bat. All right, straight up. Get out of here. Out the park. Okay, it's left the stadium. It's in the water.
Oh,
All right, like come on. There's no repair to that. Look, and Amber, I see you as someone who cares about people. If you care
Mhm.
about these two people, you don't want them back together. You absolutely do not want them back together. You don't want that toxicity to continue to grow. I mean, you're gonna have to call Ghostbusters on them. By the time they're done with everything, I mean, come on, it's gonna be slime all over the place. What? It's a wrap out of there. It's not gonna get no better. She gonna keep doing more crazy, wild things. She already don't respect. And by the way, you two ladies, I know you're gonna agree with me on this. And my mother told me this all the time. She says, if you're ever with a woman, once she loses respect for you, you leave that relationship. Woman loses respect for you, it's over. She's not. You can't rebuild that. It's a wrap. So I'm not sitting here trying to rebuild respect from you. What? I'm a grown ass man. When I walk in here, you respect me as it is.
When it gets hard and you feel like your respect is gone, now it's time to quit and kick out of here. I'm done with this one. That's the problem. That's the whole problem. I'm not saying she's right, right? She's wrong for going behind his back. But that's the whole issue. My point was, this is why marriage is failing. This is why marriage is failing. Because when it get bad and tough like this, everybody's like, nope, this is it. This is done. Whatever. I do believe though, Rennick, that you should have deal breakers. I do, because there are boundaries. There's just some limits that you don't allow a person to go beyond. And I think abuse is one. Abuse is one of those things that's a boundary that you should not cross. That is grounds for divorce. I think in their case, I think they can actually work this out. I do. I think they can work it out.
Listen, let me put it in clear vision for you. All right, I'm gonna speak in layman terms. a woman doing this to a man, to emasculate him this way, it's equivalent to a man beating a woman. If you beat a woman in your marriage, she should divorce you. She should leave you. It should be a wrap. It's never going to get better. It's going to get worse. He probably is going to kill you. Okay? It's not a good idea. So, when a woman does this to a man, it is equivalent to beating him. Like that, you're literally waging war on his mental capacity. Like
It's emotional abuse.
It's
And
hell.
mental abuse.
It turns into mental. It turns into mental because the ego of a man effectively is the strength of a woman. If you can demoralize his ego, it is like beating him up. It is like taking him down and making him submit to you, tapping out type stuff. So what does a man do when he's physically under fire, when he's physically accosted? What does he do? He responds with physical violence. So so women need to think of this concept like that, to say, this is why it's a deal breaker and why he should be out of there. Because the minute she doesn't respect him and is willing to just demoralize him, she's effectively putting her hands on him.
It speaks to your point. Like, some dudes may even look like they got it like that they can rise above it. And it's true, when you're demoralizing them like that, you don't know how that's affecting their mental state. And a guy whose back is pushed against the corner like that, who feel like he's got nothing else left, you don't want to be in a house with a guy who's on that type of, who got that type of pressure, that type of situation going with him. Nothing good could come of that. So there's a point to that. You know, as a brother to my sisters, I've had to tell them, like, look, you got to navigate this thing smart. Any guy you dealing with, you ain't a guy. Don't try to meet a guy with his type of energy. You know what I mean? If you got a problem, bring it to me. I'll have a guy on guy conversation with him that's different from your type of conversation. You always want to be respectful. You always want to, you know what I'm saying, understand that there's differences between you and him in terms of brute strength and things of that nature. And you got to manage that guy's mentals first before anything else, because you don't know, people snap all the time and you just don't want to be on the opposite side of that. And sometimes women play with that way too loosely. You over here playing with a dude, you're embarrassing him, you got him looking crazy, you talking to him crazy, you slapping him, you hitting him, you doing all this crazy stuff. And you don't know, one day, maybe a day, you weren't suspecting, and that dude don't have no type of self-control, and he just lashes out. And then it's just a horrible day for everybody involved. So, you know, I steer clear.
Can I just say something, interject really quick?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing too, right? Why do you think they let go women who end up poisoning their husbands after they found out that they've been abusing the woman? The woman won't get any jail time for killing the man, because they're like, oh, he's been abusing her, and it was almost like she did it based on trauma. It was like self-defense. Basically, that's how they deem it, right? So it's the same thing to say, like, if you're a man, I would say the same thing to men. I would say, bro, don't go putting your hands on this woman crazy, man, because after a certain amount of time, she's gonna kill you. She's gonna poison you. She's gonna do something that she's gonna kill you, because she's gonna go, I got to get out of this. I have to get out of here, and I can't leave physically. So I got to kill him. She's gonna stab you in the night. The conversation really has to float into that intellectual space to say, like, how can we equate one to the other, so I can help you to understand why this is not a good idea. Like, don't try and be like, I'm a one-up you type of stuff. Don't do that with men, because we do not react like women. Don't treat us like you treat other women. Don't do that, because we're not other women. Like, we are men. We move differently. So the real, like, lesson learned here is, do not treat the opposite sex how you treat the same sex. You treat it oppositely. That's it. You know what I mean? It's not about saying, oh, you're less than me or more than me. It's about saying you're different. You're different, and I need to respect that.
Not the same energy.
Or like people who walk their cats with the leash on. You know how many of them get attacked by the cat after a little bit? The cat like, what the heck is going on? You got me in a wrap here, man. Like, I need to go somewhere. Cats are super independent. Dogs will let you put them on a leash. They respectful. Cats like, I don't respect nobody. Look, I gotta get out of here, and I'm finicky. You know.
Out of nowhere, you could be feeding this cat just like you'd be feeding that man or whoever else that you feed. You feed them literally every day at the same time, and all it takes is one thing that you do that you may not even be conscious of, and them joints will come out of nowhere. Cats are like that.
If there's anything to be learned here, opposite what I just stated, you know, it's keep your hands to yourself, keep your attitude to yourself. Like, don't come out of your face doing crazy things just to prove a point. Prove a point in conversation. Have a sit down conversation. It may not be comfortable for one party or even both parties, but you're being adults and you're being cordial and you're being respectful. That's what matters the most, instead of wanting to prove a point just for the sake of your own ego. Because there's two egos to both sides. One is righteous and looking to destroy the other. And the other is sitting back and being accosted by this other ego and trying to understand why this is happening. It's a dangerous situation. It's very dangerous. The ego is, why do you think men kill over women? Because we're irrational about women. So when women are irrational with us about our ego and how irrational we are about them, shit can get a little greasy. It can get a little tricky. So, you know, thank God for her sake, he is not an alpha male, right? Because if he was an alpha male, shit would have gone a lot different. Like, he's a beta male. It's clear. He's a beta male. There's no way an alpha male is letting that situation go down. None at all. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. So, you know, if I'm Lady Amber over there, I would rethink the position of, oh, you know, they can work it out. It can get better, because it cannot get better. Once it reaches that, it is the best for you both to go opposite directions.
I don't really have anything much to say. Rennick, Amber, and you kind of covered most of it. I'm just going to keep it simple with what my dad always told me: respect is currency. And you can either have it and give it to others and have it multiply, or you can lose it and be destitute and have nobody to want to work. My dad's always told me, you never want to be the person that nobody wants to work with. You never want to be that person, and you never want to put yourself in that position. And I feel that what has transpired is putting people in some seriously compromising positions. Yeah, it's not my place to judge. Just going based off of perspective, off of what we see. We're not judging them. We're not, dictating their moral character, or nor are we saying that, we're better than them or anything else like that. We're not saying anything about anyone's occupation, that, our occupation's better than them or anything like that. That's not what we're saying. So let's go ahead and let's put that disclaimer out there. We're not doing that. But the fact of the matter is, respect is currency. And I feel like trust, you should do everything in your power to make sure that that is valid between you and whoever you're sharing this trust and respect with. That's it.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for a very spirited conversation. I think there was a lot of great gems and nuggets that we can extract from this conversation. To my viewers, I thank you all for hanging in there with us for this conversation. Now, I always like to say, not everything said here, is going to be for everyone. So take the gems, to eat the meat and spit out the bones, right? Part of what we were saying was playful nature. We didn't mean to disrespect anyone. So I hope no one really gets the sense that, that's where we were coming from. It's just a part of us just making sense of what we were seeing happening. So I try to, ease it off. Secondly, I would like to say that, always put God first, man. Like, to anybody who's listening to this, if you're in a situation where you're in a relationship where you feel like the respect is lost, or you're trying to navigate how to regain that, or how to preserve your family, your relationship, it can be a tough place to be in. So I'm not saying these things are easy. And sometimes we may joke and say walking away is the easiest thing, but sometimes walking away has ramifications. It has a bunch of things, right? That's why the term "it's cheaper to keep it" comes up, because, everything is going to cost you something, right? So at some point, you do want to weigh those things. If there are places where you can get counseling, where you could seek some sort of support to help you guys navigate your relationships, I would encourage people who's in relationships like that to seek that help. It might help to preserve the relationship. And for others, sometimes it is a better situation to just allow each other to get your own space. So with that, I thank my wonderful guests for all that they've done to add to this conversation. And I ask that you guys like and subscribe and stay connected. Until the next conversation, be well. Blessings to you all.